हरिओम। नमस्ते भामा जी। नमस्ते डॉक्टर भावना जी। हरिओम दीप्ति जी। हरिओम डॉक्टर पुष्पा जी। हरिओम मिलन जी। We'll just wait for a few more minutes, a couple, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can begin. Hariom Arvind ji. Hariom Vasudevan ji.
हरिओम जी।
Hariom, Hariom. Hariom, Hariom. Hariom Vidya ji. Hariom. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then begin. If anybody has any queries, anything you wish to ask or share, you are most welcome, or we'll wait for participants to join.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay, ji.
That day when we were talking, I said that we should.
Hariom.
What I do is that um if a person is doing something which is I feel is wrong,
Okay.
so I keep myself a little away and not hate that person. That's what
Okay.
I told you.
Okay.
And
Hariom ji.
but if that person comes to ask for help, then I do help.
Okay.
So the question was not to hate.
Yeah.
So
हरि ओम।
Hariom.
uh, the very next verse was that person should have no hatred for anything.
Yeah.
So is that incorrect?
What not hating is definitely correct only. We must not hate. But you are
Uh,
saying you're helping a person even if you don't like that person, what that person is doing. Is that
yes,
okay?
yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Now it is something like we must do donations to like yagna dana is dan is been told we must help, we must do service. This is all what comes as part of the Gita. Krishna will even later on specify in detail. But if we are not conscious of that dana where it is going. Say you, Milan ji, you donate to a particular NGO because in your heart you want to do good, but you have not seen what is this NGO doing. You have not gone into the, they say patra. It will come later on in the whether it is worthy of receiving it. Then you are actually liable because if you are donating to an organization which is funding terrorists, what will happen then? It will be you are contributing in something wrong, you will be adding on to that karma. That is one thing, that is one way of looking at it. Second, as a swabhava, there is nothing wrong in helping people even if they have like opposite opinions or they are doing something what we don't like, as long as it is not coming in the way of dharma, because again that will come back to us only. If they are going against dharma and you support someone, it's just like supporting an enemy when the enemy is weak, so that enemy becomes stronger to again attack you only. So something like
No,
Swadharma as well as I do not know, Milanji, what was the
no,
context?
no. My question is regarding myself,
Okay,
not the other person.
regarding
If
yourself, should you
yeah,
help
yeah.
a
If
person?
I if I feel that person is doing means you should not hate the person because you know in everyone the same Atman
Okay,
exists.
okay,
But you you know that that thing whatever that person is doing or the way that person is behaving is not
it's not right.
what you
Okay,
have for according to
okay,
me according to that person thinks whatever that
acha,
person is doing is right. So I keep myself away because I keep myself away. So I'm talking from my point of view that that means there is something in your mind that this is not good and therefore you're keeping yourself away. So
is that wrong hurting you? Is that wrong of that person hurting you?
yeah, that
Yes, no. If that is the case, it is coming against your Swadharma. That is an important aspect. If it is hurting you and you cannot allow it to continue then, and you cannot
huh,
support the person to hurt you more.
so then you keep yourself away. So that is
Yes.
not wrong,
No, it
right?
is not. Not at all. Not at all, Ji. Absolutely not. Ji, ji. It is not, because again our swadharma is something, because we are there so we can go ahead. If we allow ourselves to be taken over by, there's something nice, a chapter called divine and demonic traits, deva and asuric nature. They are dual natures present in the world. How do we deal with them? That will come in detail actually, Milanji, in the later part. There's an adhyay for that.
Saira.
Hari Om ji, Hari Om. So I think we can begin with the invocation. सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Hari Om. Hari Om. Namaste. So we are now beginning what is our 13th adhyay. I think everybody has already guessed it right. It is going to be practical. But before we start that adhyay, can someone recollect what is it that we saw last? The way of Bhakti Yoga. Only 20 shlokas, but each of these shlokas have their own beautiful inner meaning. They are worth meditating upon. Yes, please. Can someone tell me what is it? Something we saw yesterday. Yes, please. Anything. So we form the link and we can start with the next adhyay. Okay, Deepti ji.
So basically, first of all, Krishna was telling about different ways of being attached to the divine that we saw. Mm. And then he also said what we saw yesterday was that very important, that anybody who is not attached to the happiness or sorrow, or anybody who treats everyone equally, like
Equal.
neither has friends nor has enemies, or is
Or
not
is
very
treating friends and foes as one
equal,
on
yeah,
a
the
higher level. Yeah.
on a higher level.
Hmm.
Or when it comes to the family attachment part also, so he's not very what do you call attached, so that called, I mean, so he doesn't care about whether he's going to be respected or disrespected, or he's not very joyful or not very sorrowful in any situation, and takes everything with a pinch of salt,
Hmm.
and is okay with that. And whether it is his home or family or friends,
Objects.
objects, anything, he's not very attached, he's like neutral towards everything, and he's just devoting everything to Krishna, to the divine. So such people are very very dear to him. And he also mentioned about that those people which he's talking about, who have faith in him and who enjoy that, they are very, I mean, the nectar of wisdom, like very very wise, and they're devoted, and the intent is only to do things for the devotee. They are very, and that is their main goal. So that person is the dearest to Krishna.
Okay. Okay, Deepti ji. So this is interesting. The additions of what was done in the last adhyay. It was someone who can see with oneness, with a samatha, all objects which the person is owning also is not having that feeling of proprietorship, not over objects, not over people, not over any other belongings, recognizing the true owner to be the divine. So normally what happens is when you own the object, you are actually very careless. But when you know the object belongs to someone else, when your friend say gives you a book, I remember my story. My books would be in a very bad shape whenever I had my own books. But when I got somebody else's, I would be a little bit worried, because if I just, probably if I tear or one page or something like that happens, I will never get a book again because it's not mine. So this state of mind, if we can recognize that we are not the owners, that's one way we can treat. Because many times in relations also, this feeling of proprietorship only creates all the problems. My friend, my father, my mother, my son, my daughter, all these feelings. How can they do this? The parents also should understand that yes, This is they are each one is an individual soul. Nobody can own anybody. Each one has is born with a purpose. Each soul decides its own path. Parents can create sanskaras, but after that, the child has to go on its own. Something like that. Same with the relations also. You can probably love your spouse so much, and then, but if you expect, then that the expectations are not fulfilled, you are trapped. Your expectations, we have seen earlier, will not guarantee anything. Like having expectations can only guarantee pain when expectations are not fulfilled. Instead, if we just let go of the expectations, so that simple thing Krishna is saying is, these devotees, they are always in the state of bliss. They are happy. They are understanding whatever comes naturally. Somebody praises them, they can say, they can. It's not that they do not feel happy. Human beings will have emotions. Krishna has also told earlier, likes and dislikes. We are human beings. We will have likes and dislikes. That is okay. It was already told before also. But when we are carried away by our likes and dislikes, because they are very strong attachments, then our progress is destroyed. So here Krishna talks about that balance, balance at all times, but balance at all moments. He goes on where final part is this. This is the simple thing. He comes with a like penultimate verse. He says his own people, his own things, his own home. Most of the fights, most of the disappointments in life, most of the anxieties come because of these three only. Our own people, my father is like this, my mother is like this, my brother is like this, my sister is like this, he doesn't understand me, she doesn't understand me, my child is like this, daughter is like this. These anxieties are very difficult to let go, and somebody who has this faith, sometimes even having shraddha in the child also or shraddha in the partner also is very important. Sometimes you can just let go. You cannot control, you cannot manipulate. Nobody else's life can be led by you. So this aspect of looking at all of these as one, Krishna is saying somebody who has this deep conviction, Bhaktiman me priyo naraha, is what Krishna is saying. He is very close to me. Again, we see for becoming dear to Krishna, we don't have to do anything for Krishna. He doesn't expect anything from us for him. He just wants us to be in that state, like he starts. So he starts with that person, Santushtaha Sarvam Yogi, who is always happy, who is able to smile in spite of the difficulties of life. That person is dear. So the entire journey of all who are dear was described, but the dearest one, Krishna says, is that devotee who is living the principles. He says that person becomes the example of Sanatana Dharma. He is the example of how a person should live. If you see earlier also, Krishna was asking Arjuna to be the example, not run away because of the situation, but rise to the occasion and become the example. He gave the example of Raja Janaka, then he gave the example of himself. He said, see, for Loka Sangraha, I am becoming your charioteer. For Loka Sangraha, every day I am working, though I own everything in the world. There is nothing remaining for me to be gained. Yet I do sun or rain, because if I don't do it, that standard will fall, and men always emulate the best. So be the best, do the right thing, you will bring about a transformation. That is exactly what Krishna is saying. Dearest of my devotees, is whose supreme aim in life is to love only me. That is the only aim of that person. Everything else is secondary. But then we have seen these are not, means he has no aim. It's not like that. The person has no aim. The person has realized the highest aim which is possible for a human being. All other things are secondary, and they come on the way. They come on the way on the path. One need not worry about what's going to happen, because sometimes we give importance to wrong things which are temporary. So this person has got the highest aim and understood what that which is eternal, and he is seeking that, and in that journey everything comes on his way, and this person becomes the example of Shastras. He need not study the Shastra to tell him how he has to work, because his Vivek Buddhi will only guide him. The inner Isha Tattva, or the Atma inside of him, that will guide him and take him ahead. So this is what dearest is, not somebody who is just probably a lot of people feel reading the scriptures will help. Yes, reading scriptures helps, but greatest is living the scriptures, because if you live them, then you have understood it and you are practicing it, and that is exactly what maybe we have so many in 700 verses. We have so many aspects of the Gita. If we can even hold on to one, personally in my aim, I have just taken 2-3 shlokas. I want to try to practically live them in life. If I am successful, I would say my life purpose is fulfilled, because that is the power of the Gita and these verses. So we have to live them. That is what probably Krishna is indicating by the tone. Krishna is again going back to practical. He's given enough of metaphysical knowledge to Arjuna. He is bringing Arjuna back to the practical world now. The next adhyaya is the Kshetra Shaitragnya Vibhag. I'll just share the illustration. Please have a look at it. Can someone describe what you see there? I'll continue after that. Yes, please. Yes, please. Can someone describe what you see here? Yes, please. Does it need to be zoomed a bit? Yes, please. Hariom. Anything you can describe it. It's just yes.
So
Yes, Ji.
what we see here is a round which looks like our Earth,
Okay, Ji.
Mother Earth,
Ji.
and from there, inside it, there's so many things which I'm not able to
Fully
comprehend,
see.
but they are
Okay.
constituting the whole Prakriti, I think, or
Okay, Ji.
everything inside,
Okay.
living or whatever it is
Ji.
on the earth, inside the earth, or whatever it is.
Okay.
And from there, emerging a beautiful tree,
Yeah.
and it's going upwards, and on different branches there are leaves and
Yeah.
there are birds.
Ji.
They are flying birds, they are singing birds,
Ji.
they're
Ji.
sitting,
Ji. Ji.
and the shape of main branch
Ha.
is looks like a little, you know,
A woman.
it's little lady. I
Yes.
don't know,
Yes.
but
Yes.
this is something in this which is attracting me, but I
Ji.
cannot explain what it is.
Ji. 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 All right.
But there
Ji.
is something in it.
Yes, Ji. All right, Ji. So, okay, yes, Dr. Poonam ji has shared. It is like a female figure. That is the tree that is rising from the Prithvi, and inside of Prithvi we have many constituents. Yes, please. Somebody wants to add further. Okay, Deepti ji. Yes, please.
What I can interpret is that the birds are there, and this a tree-like structure is there, which is very feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
and then there's this circle, if we consider as earth.
Mm.
So what I can interpret is that the life is outside as well as within, like inside
Okay.
also.
Okay.
So
The
so
consciousness is present.
yeah,
Ji.
so it's everywhere, and everything is arising from like that. And then the feminine structure shows about those, I guess, those five feminine characters which we
Yeah, Dhruti,
saw in the
Shama,
book.
Medha,
Yeah,
Smriti.
five.
Yes. Ji. Ji.
So that's what
Okay.
my interpretation.
All right, yes. So now we are again seeing the concept of the divine feminine. 5,000 years back, long before feminism was required also in India, in Sanatan Dharma, the divine feminine was recognized. So the Srishti again, Prithvi, all are Strilingi only. The Purusha is one, and then there is the partner of Purusha, that is Prakriti. And Prakriti, here we see in this image trying to tell us about the Prakriti. If you see Prakriti is, if you see deeper into the picture, you will actually see that there is a water drop, there is a recycling, there is wind energy, there is clean energy, there are people, there are families working, there is a windmill, there is the sunlight, all of these symbols are inside. The rain, crops growing, person cycling, all these factors, these are all part of something. They are all part of one divine feminine which we can call Prakriti. And if we look at the tagline below the image, the tagline says that the creation too is immortal just like the creator, and all living beings are constituents of the divine feminine. So here Prakriti is immortal. We have already been told we are Shara, we are mortal. But despite being mortal, we are part of something in the creation that which is immortal, and that is Prakriti. Probably Krishna is going to introduce us to Prakriti now. What is Prakriti and what is the role? So this is what we see. But then Prakriti is also like the divine. Prakriti is eternal, but constituents of Prakriti may perish, but they get recycled again. So let us see what this is. We will begin the adhyay. We will just start. There are two versions of the Gita. One version of the Gita starts with a question from Arjuna, and another version it is Krishna directly starting. So we are, I think, Gorakhpur Press and so many other versions, they begin this adhyay but directly with Krishna's words. So only difference in this is in those two versions will be probably there will be one shloka extra. One is Arjuna asking for what is this Kshetra, what is Kshetragnya, Krishna please tell me that, or in another what we are seeing now Krishna is directly speaking. So let us begin. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramithyabhidhiyate Etadyo Vetti Tam Prahuhu Kshetragnya iti Tadvidaha. Shri Krishna answered, O Arjuna, this physical body that you own is the field that is to be known, and he who knows in principle its foundation, he is the knower who knows its mode of operation. So Krishna, this Sharira, O Kaunteya, this body that you own, this is the Kshetra that you must understand. So Krishna is introducing a concept called field. And he who knows its principle of foundation, who knows in principle its foundation, he is the knower who knows its mode of operation. So it says somebody who understands it properly, that person has understood the field. He knows how to operate in the field. Now, this actually very strongly reminds me of an engineering principle where in thermodynamics also, anybody from the engineering field, yes, is there anyone from the engineering field? Okay, yes,
Yes.
all right, yes, please. Anybody remembers this in thermodynamics? We had learnt about systems, surroundings, environment.
Yes,
Yes, so what is that? Something about it you would like to say?
energy can neither be produced nor.
Okay, yes, that is a thermodynamic principle. Energy cannot be produced. So that is true. Another principle is that you cannot extract more from a machine. They call it perpetual motion machine is not possible, where you are giving less input and getting more output, because that is the functioning. So when any machine is designed, even any machine is designed, the first thing the designer has to study is, are these rules of thermodynamics complying? Because sometimes
Cannot do more
yes.
than one.
Yes, yes, efficiency. Okay, that's another thermodynamic principle. Yes. So when this is being designed, you must understand this, because if this is failing, then the entire system. Some one person from my college only, some of my super seniors had developed one machine running on water, and they said this automobile is very good. They got media coverage and everything. Later on, the professors caught him in the conference, and then they challenged him, because first it became a breaking news. Then they said, "See, this is the thermodynamic principle. Your machine is working. I can see it run, but if you see how it is functioning, these roles are getting broken. Meaning, somewhere hidden energy is being supplied to the system. Because now these were the masters. They knew that this is the functioning. You cannot break these rules. So when you know the mode of operation, then only you can design. So for a simple machine also it is there. Look at our human body, what a complex machine it is. If you look at it, whoever is the creator, so many systems are taking place, so many exchanges are taking place. So Krishna says, first recognize this as the Kshetra, this Sharira. It is said in Sanskrit, Shariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Your first duty is towards your body. Why? Then only you will do sadhana. This is our sadhan for doing sadhana. I say I want Brahmagyan and I am going to seek Brahmagyan, but I decide to give zero interest to my body. What's going to happen? My body will perish, and what is the use of sadhana? Then how will I do? I'll have to wait for one more janma, get one more yoni. God knows how that will come because of my karmas. But this aspect is very important to recognize your duty. So your life, we are alive, our life journey is getting sustained because of our body. So we need to first recognize that. This is what Krishna is saying. First Sharira, he says, Idam Shariram. This is the first Kshetra you need to understand. And this is the Kshetra, this is the field. Become conscious. Even sometimes patients, when they come to the doctor and they want to get treatment, the doctor has to ask the patient only, how are you feeling? What is your experience? Because it is the patient who knows the body best. The doctor will not be able to, doctor knows what to do, but first he has to identify what is the, because sometimes the patients know their bodies better than the doctor also. So many years they have seen this is particular, don't give me this particular tablet, I have allergy to this, don't give me this, this is my experience. So that is why they try to get the history. So they are trying to learn from now the Kshetragnya, which is the patient, because Kshetragnya there is the, for the body at least initially it is like that. Krishna is saying this, that this is a Kshetra you need to first recognize. Do not ignore your physical. This is something Krishna is telling this to Arjuna very clearly. Become conscious of your body, because if you see, mental changes happen very easily. Physical changes happen very, very slowly. One sukshma changes can happen quite easily. But what about the sthula, which is the gross physical? That is the last place of transformation. If you put on extra weight, it is very easy, they say, to put on weight, but even that doesn't happen suddenly, it happens gradually. But then again, working out, because it is something which is very much in this physical transformation. In the physical takes much more time than the mental level, and that is why Krishna says first recognize the base. In sadhana also it is important. In Sri Aurobindo ashram also, the Sri Aurobindo had always talked about taking good care of the physical mother also, that your discipline, the Surya Namaskar also is an offering for the divine. It is a surrender to the Surya also, but also taking full bodily surrender also should take place. Each and every, they talked about making each and every cell conscious in their sadhana. You should make that awareness, make it aware. Every single part of your body should be awakened. That was the aim, because this is so important. In sadhana also they say Adhar. Adhar is the vessel for the divine. Instrument is a nimitta matra. So nimitta matra is going to receive something. If the vessel is not strong, what's going to happen? It is going to break. It will not be able to function. So the basic aspect. Sometimes people say even meditation, don't go too deep into meditation where you cannot handle. It will. My teacher also says, don't try to go intellectually into some other realm without taking care of your body. Otherwise, you will grow mad. That's a direct statement, he says, and it's very true. So our body must, we should be conscious of it, we should take care of it. Krishna is saying that is the Kshetra. Yes, please. Gayatri ji wants to share something.
Yeah, what about the penance done by the rishis and
Ah,
munis and all?
they are taking care of their body and then only doing the penance. For tapasya, from childhood they are raised in that consciousness. We can also do penance. Tapa is to be done, yes. But I cannot suddenly say I am going to go to the Himalayas tomorrow and I will do a penance. I don't know what will happen. I will get hypothermia immediately because I am not used to it. Is it not, Gayatri ji? But
What I feel is if they are focused only in see like in previous adhyayas we have seen the Brahma Jnana, only Atma Jnana, only in that this thing, if every cell of their body or mind and everything is focusing only on that, then this is taken care by itself.
it is taken care by itself. But like a patient, can he say, I am now focusing on myself and medicines need not work now because I am focusing consciously?
That is in the lower level.
Yeah. No, no, higher state we are talking about, that is there. No, but for reaching there, first is the Sharira only, is it not?
Okay. So
For
initially it is
karma.
required. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. It is required, and maybe later on also, because Arjuna is being told after a darshana. Arjuna is now suddenly out of our league. He is a post darshan person now. He is somebody who has got that darshana. Yet Krishna is talking about the body, because sometimes it's very easy to neglect the body. We feel it's all right.
No, sometimes if you give more importance to the body, you will deviate from your focus and you'll be concentrating only
Ha
on the
ha.
body.
No, that is why Krishna is talking about both, no, just like material and spiritual. Krishna tries to remove that divide between what is material and spiritual. Same now, body and mind. Recognize body as a Kshetra. Just recognize it and then use it for sadhana. It is who is using whom. If the Indriyas are using, then body consciousness is of no use. You are slave of the Indriyas. But no,
Yes.
something inside is in control of Indriyas. That is what. Yes, Gayatri ji. Let us go to the. Thank you, ji. Hari Om. We'll go to the next shloka. Kshetragnyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetragnya yognyanam yatagnyanam matam mama. As the knower supreme, recognize me, knower of all fields that can in existence be. The knowledge of the knower and the field is the ultimate wisdom that a being can wield. So the Krishna says then, all right, recognize your body, know your body, because that is the most important thing first. And then probably the Kshetra is not limited to the body only. Kshetra starts expanding. The Kshetra in Sanskrit word means that area, that field. Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. So Dharma Kshetra, it is a Kshetra of upholding Dharma. This is Kurukshetra. Again, what is happening? Arjuna is forgetting where he has come. He has come to Kurukshetra. He is again forgotten because his emotions have taken him aside. So Krishna says first recognize, then he says next, after recognizing that first your body should be sound. Next, trying your best to do that as much, because everybody's body has some plus and minus. Become conscious, start working on them. Next, he says, then there is something higher. Recognize myself to be the supreme Kshetragnya, knower of the. He says, recognize me as the supreme knower, knower of all the fields. This knowledge of the knower and the field is the ultimate wisdom a being can wield. Knowing the knower, who is the right knower, that is important, and the field also, it is so important. And recognize Krishna. There are so many fields, one cannot say one is in charge of all the fields or one knows everything in every domain, but there is one divine who is conscious, whose presence is everywhere. Recognize that divine, you will get from that divine the wisdom to function in another domain which may not be yours also. Best example I can say is, if I randomly come to your home now and I say I want to cook something and I enter into your kitchen, what's going to happen? I don't think I'll be successful because I don't know where all the ingredients are. I'll be searching for where is salt, where is this kind, where is this besan or atta, or where is rice. All these questions will only trouble me because this is a new Kshetra and I don't know. What should I do there? There I have to identify the Kshetragnya there. That would be you. You will tell me, so this is here, this is there. Then I will receive that wisdom and then operate, because this is the basic aspect Krishna is saying. Recognize the knower, recognize the mode and how it is done. That is the highest knowledge Krishna is saying. And slowly the Kshetra is going to move beyond objects also. Prakriti is also a supreme Kshetra. It is the highest, greatest Kshetra. Krishna is saying next, he says, Rishibir Bahudha Geetam. Oh, sorry, 13th, third shloka. Tat Kshetram Yatcha Yadrukcha Yad Vikari Yatascha Yat Sachayo Yat Prabhavascha Tat Samasena Meshrunu. About the fields and its multifarious diversities of its source, nature, and inherent deformities, and also what it is and what is its influences sphere, I shall explain them to you. So lend me your ear. So Krishna says about the Kshetra, about the different Vibhaga of the Kshetra, different divisions of the Kshetra, of its source, of its nature, and also inherent deformities. So if we say this world, this Srishti which we see, is it perfect? We are, don't we see so many vikara, so many wrong, some people like now they behave differently or they do extremely wrong things. So what we see, this is the beauty. Sanatana Dharma is recognizing the divinity of the Prakriti, but in Prakriti Sanatana Dharma also recognizes this deformity also. There are deformities which are what we can, that is why we don't say be human only. We want to become divine, because when we become divine we will be able to remove the deformities. Otherwise these human deformities are only going to make us descend in lower consciousness. Human is a transitional being only. He can either go up or he can go down. So if you stay there, your gravity will start functioning, your lower consciousness will pull you down. That is why we need to seek the divine. He says, I'll tell you about the field, about the different divisions of the field, of the source, of the nature, and also the inherent deformities. What is the sphere? What is its influences sphere? Now there's something like a sphere of influence all of us have wherever we are. If we are in a field of work also, there is one sphere of influence. We know where our influence works. While now, right now also, as we are attending the session, we have a sphere of influence. We can actually draw that sphere depending on the area we are conscious about. If we are just right now, if somebody enters into a particular room, what's going to happen? Even if you don't look at that person, you will suddenly become conscious. Your eyes will tell you, or without anything, you can just sense, somebody is coming. I'm not able to see who is there, but that person has come into my conscious sphere. So this sphere of influence is there, and Krishna is saying, I'll tell you. Gautam Buddha had such a vast sphere that when he would walk, they are around him. It was said to be a couple of kilometers that Shanti people would experience. That he is passing there. Somewhere someone may be fighting, and suddenly they would forget the reason to fight and they would shake hands and walk away. Why? Well, just nearby this force was going. This we have seen. People have an aura. We have already seen about it. How with dhyana we can actually cultivate the aura. Krishna is saying, I'm going to tell you about this field a little more. He goes on further, the fourth shloka. Rishabir Bahuda Geetam Chando Bhihi Vividhaihi Prathak Brahma Sutra Padaishchaiva Hetur Madbhihi Vinishchitaihi. The sages and the ancient seers of old have in their hymns thus extolled the Brahma Sutras, the great scriptures classical, describe its philosophy and rationale in a way most logical. So the sages The ancient ones, the ancient seers, they have in their hymns, they have told what they have said. They have talked about the Brahma Sutras. Now, if you see, Krishna is calling it ancient. For us, it must be very, very ancient. So, even that time, Krishna is talking about these scriptures, Brahma Sutras. These are great scriptures, he says. They have described this great philosophy. This is a philosophy which we should understand. It is like a manual for operation. Even for if a machine, we get a new machine, a new washing machine is got. What do we need to do? First, we have to study its manual. This is exactly what this wisdom is. This is the Kshetra Shaitragnya knowledge. He says Brahma Sutras have very nicely described it, the philosophy, in a very, very logical way. Let us go on. Now comes the interesting aspect. Mahabhutan Yahankaro Buddhiravyaktamev cha Indriyani Dashaikam cha Panchachendriya Gochara. So here he says this is the field, become conscious of it. The field consists of the ego. Ahankar is there. So this is there in the field. We cannot say I am so humble, I don't have ahankar. Well, each of us is having ahankar because of Prakriti. Sadhana will help us remove, but sometimes we have to go and find that monster in the mirror only. We go searching for everywhere else. As Kabir Das also had said, Bura jo dekhan mein chala, bura na milya koe. जो दिल खोजा अपना मुझसा बुरा न कोई. And of course, Kabir Das was not a bad man. He was a saint. He was a lovely person. Yet he had that subtleness, that humility to identify what is wrong and do that surgery and remove that remnant of whatever ego was remaining inside of him. Many have extra ego. Here, the ego must be sukshma ahankar. That is why they are searching. And in sadhak also, there is an ahankar which the person has to be very conscious and remove it. But because ahankar is there, it is part of prakriti, one need not be too disturbed about it also. Recognize it and remove it. That is all we have to do. The mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram often says, ego is a helper, ego is a bar. Sometimes ahankar helps little bit to move ahead, but where it stops, that is where our next stage of sadhana begins. So that must stop as well. So the field consists of ego and the five elements. So Pancha Mahabhutas, we have seen this already. Ego is there. Then there is mind. The mana is there. The five senses and they are sense components. We can call them the 10 senses. What is this? Five senses and five sense components of touch, taste, smell, sound and sight. And also the inextensible and unmanifest light. Now this is interesting. First is ego is there, then there is the Pancha Mahabhutas, our sharir is made of it. Then there is the mana, the mind is there. So every one of us have mind. That is a speciality of human beings. We have a much more developed mind than even animals. This aspect is there. Along with that, we have this, our five senses are there and the sense components, making it a total number 10. And also there is one more, there is an inextensible and unmanifest light, meaning there is a light of the divine. Krishna has also told, look at this miracle of the Srishti. I am present and yet I am not on the surface. This light of the divine is present everywhere. The Kshetra is full of that light. It is not yet manifest. The unmanifest light is there. Probably sadhana is for manifesting that light only. If you see Sri Aurobindo inside of his prison, very dark prison, which is absolutely gloomy place, there he saw Vasudevam Sarvamiti. He saw Vasudeva when he was on the, if you see, what he had got was one simple rug to sleep on and was like a blanket. There he felt it was Vasudeva who was hugging him. In the grating of the prison bars also he was seeing Vasudeva only. So there is some light which is there and our Kshetra is full of divine light, but it is unmanifest, so we cannot see. It is something which is not yet fully clear.
What is inextensible means?
Inextensible is something which is, it is so much, it is absolutely what we can say, Vasudevanji. It is so powerful and so all pervading. That light is there, it is yet to manifest, but since there is so much Shakti, there is divine Shakti is there everywhere, only we are not accessing it. So that is also a part of the Prakriti. Why people who would recognize would become heroes, who recognize that Shakti would actually connect to it. Jai Bhavani, Jai Shivaji, and they would run after even 100 soldiers. It is like there was Maratha soldiers. Even it was very funny for me to see a few days back. I got a video in which some Taliban chief is talking about Marathas. He says this is a danger in India. This feeling is there. This feeling of fighting for, they have the strength. They connect with that strength. We must recognize our enemies also. What he was saying. Well, this strength, there is a strength inside of the field also, which is unmanifest. So this is what the Kshetra and the Vibhaga Krishna is talking about. Just let us go next further. Ichha dveshaha sukham dukkham sanghataschetana dhrutihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram mudahrutam. Desire, dislike, pleasure and pain are the field's principal deformations that reign, and consciousness, differentiation and perpetuation are its principal constituents with many a modification. So ichha, dvesha, this is also present in the Kshetra. Krishna is saying desire is there is dislike is there, pleasure is there is pain also. Kama is also there, and then there is dukkha also, everything is there. These are the field's deformations that reign. So because when we see this, when this enters, these are deformations in the field, meaning they are not what we need to cultivate inside of us. They are still already present, which they have to be eliminated. Consciousness, this is also there. Consciousness, that Chetana is there everywhere. Differentiation and perpetuation. So if you see what, how do we understand Ekoham Bahusyami, that Mahavakya, I am one, let me become many. Just recognize that inside of us is the same divine consciousness, and yet each of us are at different stages of life, at different degrees of consciousness. We are the same on the inside, but there's a differentiation of consciousness that is resulting in our own way of life, our way of choices, our way of thinking. All of it is different, and yet somewhere on the inside we can acknowledge and understand we are one. But there is a differentiation of this one consciousness that is there, and there is perpetuation also, meaning transfer of consciousness. This is Prakriti's cycle, is it not? Generation after generation. Why progeny is like how for posterity something genes are being passed on again and again, so many over several generations. Is that something which human beings are doing? Human beings are birth takes place because of human action, but inside of human, the Prakriti has planted this. So this perpetuation is also taking place. This is all a part of the Kshetra of the Kshetra. These are the divisions of the Kshetra, is what Krishna is saying. All these feeling of the Ahankar also is there is Dvesha also, there is desire also, but there is consciousness also. So this we can see, this is a khichdi, the field is mixed up with all that is good also, and there is this what is not good also, Vikar also is there. So what do we do when we see a field full of good as well as bad? What do you think can we do in this situation when we are seeing something, both are present? Can we close our eyes to that which is bad? Yes, please, Dr. Poonamji.
So cultivate the good
Yes.
and try to get rid of the
Get rid
bad.
of the bad. Absolutely. Is it not? It's the same thing. Something similar is what we can use for our sadhana also. The same thing. What is good? Understand. We need not close our eyes to what is vikara. That will be ignorance if we close our eyes and not see what is wrong. And no, I see only good. That means what about what is bad? Now we have to start working on eliminating that, and like as Dr. Poonamji said, cultivate, raise that consciousness, raise that.
You have to know the difference, which is good, which is
Yes, that is also true because yes. Otherwise, we go after the good thinking it is bad because Ahankar is telling me this person is a useless person. I need to attack him, and what's going to happen then? We go attacking the saint only with the stones then. So this is exactly what that is also a good thing. Again, for that Vivek Buddhi is required. Again, for Viveka we need Shanti and peace, and we need to be quiet in that consciousness. Let us go on. आत्मनित्वम् अदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा शांतिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनम शौचम स्थैर्यमात्म विनिग्रह. Devoid. Now we see this is something which now Krishna 7, 8, 9, 10 shlokas are going to see the way of the Kshetragnya, because now we are talking about a little abstract. These factors are there, but how do we recognize? So divine also, goddess. If you see the Devi's Maha Mantra, the different mantras are there for the Devi. We recognize Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samsthita, Shanti Rupena Samsthita. Why do you think this is the, why do we recognize this? Namastasya, 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 Namo Namah. We say that you are Shakti, you are Shanti. Why do you think this mantra is there? The rishis have composed this. What could be the reason? I want to do Shakti Upasana, so I will say, I will chant and I will look at the goddesses, different groups of Shakti. Why? Why do we look at that? Or why do we have? Yes,
Is it
please.
like different natures? Like because
Okay.
Each Devi, when we see, like we see Saraswati, we see Lakshmi, we see Kali.
Okay.
So all of them have, although it's one,
Okay.
but we have different characteristics and we have different natures, and that is what we all have. Like we
Okay.
have Shanti, we have Ugrata, and
Okay.
not in a negative way, but that's what I can say, because I mean we have different characteristics of
Okay, that is true. That is
each.
true. But what we are looking is why now just one mantra you taken. Why do you say Ya Devi Sarva Bhuti, meaning Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu, among all the people you are Shakti and I bow to you. How it is? How do we recognize that goddess in the people? Ji, yes, Srinivas ji, yes, please.
we should we should know when to use which Shakti.
That is true, but if we see, how do we know Devi? We know Devi from the drawings of Devis or what we have seen art or beautiful works or some stuti given by some bhakta or this is goddesses like this. But how do we see that goddess in the world? We have not got darshana. Then how do we see? We see qualities just like we use symbols, is it not? Symbols connect us. Om allows us to connect to that supreme Paramatman also. Some of them may say Ganesha, some of them may say Shiva also through Om. So like that, these qualities are what we can recognize, the gunas of the divine. These qualities can be recognized and these qualities allow us to connect with the divinity. Means if you see the ashram, the mother symbol has got a flower. It has got 4 petals and beyond those 4 petals there is another circle of 12 petals. 4 petals each stand for Ma Kali, Ma Lakshmi, Ma Saraswati, Maheshwari, the 4 goddesses. And beyond those, they are the petals where these goddesses manifest. The inner ring is of the goddesses' 4 powers. The outer ring has all the petals which are having for prosperity, peace, so many. Each petal has a different color, and that color has a significance. So, what does the sadhaks do? They say, for me, this I want to cultivate this, so I will focus and meditate. They even meditate on that color only, so that I want to cultivate this peace inside of me or another color cultivate. So through the qualities we can identify the divine because as we have seen in Bhakti Yoga also we are made of form. So through it is easier for us to recognize through the form. So if we can see something beautiful, when we see beautiful music, we hear beautiful music, what do we say? This is divine. Ma Saraswati is there. How Lataji, late Lataji she was considered to be an incarnation of Saraswati. Some of the greatest singers did not say this. Lataji did not die. Lataji has not gone. Ma Saraswati has left that body which she was using now for her works because they recognize goddess through this different places. So the qualities are there. So what is the Kshetra? What is the way of knowledge? Now Krishna is going to share to us in the form of these qualities. So shlokas 7, 8, 9, 10 are very useful because they are going to just tell us what we have to cultivate as a sadhak. What is it that we must bring into our existence in our practice in life? So if we see seventh one, amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, shantirarjavam, acharyopasanam, shaucham, sthairyam vinigraha. Devoid of exhibitionism and self-priding arrogance. A lot of people have this. I am like this. They want to show their status. They want to flaunt their own greatness. Either they want to flaunt their wealth, they want to flaunt their intellectual ability, or they want to flaunt their associations, something or the other. So this is not the way of knowledge. Krishna is saying this is not the way of the Kshetragnya. The way of the Kshetragnya is having none of this inside. No self exhibitionism or self-priding arrogance. I am so and so from this status. I have. It is so many. People have arrogance for their wealth also. I have so much wealth. Look at this person. He is pale. He's got nothing in comparison. He doesn't stand in front of me. So these are all. This is not the way of the Kshetragnya. Replete with non-violence. So ahimsa also. Again, we have seen the real meaning of ahimsa. Ahimsa is not when a person is not trying to protect oneself. That does not mean that is ahimsa. If someone is attacking you, that is the biggest himsa which is taking place. So now you have to counter it like a doctor counters when there is a cancer. There are cancer cells inside. Can we say doctor practice ahimsa, don't attack these cancer cells with chemicals? Can we say that? No.
No.
No, we cannot. But when he is giving that chemotherapy, can we say he is practicing himsa? Or is it ahimsa only? Now he is protecting the body. This is the best, greatest thing that can be done. So where it is, but if he uses it, what not very in a unjudicious manner, he does not do it right in the right manner, then it can become himsa. It can lead to problem. But when it is done in the correct way without any of these emotions, that is exactly what a soldier is not doing murder when he is defending, when he is not committing murder, when he is protecting the nation. A thief attacks home, a security guard, he has to fight. Or we'll say, no, ahimsa, please don't fight. Let that thief, if he's coming in, give him a poem on peace and prosperity, and then show him the door of the house, which is the this is the house which has a lot of wealth. That's not the way at all. So this aspect of ahimsa also is important. We have seen the ahimsa is that which allows a soldier also to not be trigger friendly, just uphold the duty without emotions, without dvesha, without hatred. He is able to execute his duty. That is what we can see here. Krishna is talking, and if you see, the ahimsa is the last option. Even sadhus also, even the Nath Sampradaya also, they said there's a beautiful saying about all of these Nathas also. They say, Ami Natha Panthi Kana Phate. We are this Natha Panthis, our ears are pierced. That is one of the induction procedure where they pierce the ears and that person must not flinch. If he flinches, he is not inducted into that Sampradaya. So we are like this, see, our ears are already torn. And they say, don't come in our way is the next line. Amche vate jau nahe. Don't come in our way. We will give away that langoti also. They wear nothing, they own nothing. So we have langoti. If required, I'll give that langoti also for the betterment of the world. I don't own anything. But then if you are going against the dharma, my stick is also there. That will not spare you, is what they say. So this aspect of not wanting to fight, but when the time comes, Arjuna also was not. Krishna, what did Krishna do? Krishna preached ahimsa only. Till the last minute, he tried his best to prevent the battle. Both sides were trying to go into that state only now, and he kept going, he kept pleading. Give Duryodhana, just give 5 villages, these Pandavas will be quiet. They will have their dharma upheld. Let them rule happily in 5 villages. That is all I'm asking. And then he says, no, if they are men, let them come and take what they want. I cannot give a needle tip of land. So it went on. Krishna was always at all points trying to prevent it. So ahimsa is that nature inside of us which is trying to prevent violence, unnecessary violence which is there. But ultimately, sometimes, like we saw the example of a doctor and cancerous cells inside the body, what else can be done then? Now there is no option. We cannot allow it to proliferate. That is not something. So here, this replete with that non-violence, having compassion, compassion for all, and a patient tolerance. Because sometimes when non-violence is done a little, it becomes what we can say rigid, no? Then the spirit of it is lost. There were monks who started. They were. It was on. They were facing. This is a true fact. I'm not naming the particular place, East Asian country. Their monks were. There were so many atrocities coming onto the monks' fraternity only. They say Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. But what Sangha can they go now? Because Sangha is only being attacked. But they were in a position where they cannot. I'm not supposed to fight. That was a very big situation. They were in having a dharma sankat like Arjuna only. What should I do? We are being attacked. Our code of duty tells us not to attack. And some of the poor young lads, they actually started self-immolation in protest. I cannot hurt you, so I will hurt myself. Then their monk came out and he said, no, they talked about Buddhas also. Buddha's avatar is also there. There is one Buddha avatar where he gets into the rage form also. In a certain, I think in Vajrayana Buddhism, they talk about it. And that monk said, no, this is not human forces which are fighting. These are Dakinis which we have to now fight. This is what we have the sanction. Those who are oppressing. Then the monk started to take protest also. So this aspect is very interesting, and it is something which we should go into that spirit of things. We cannot get trapped. Even the scripture of Bhagavad Gita also, we need to go deeper into its meaning, because ahimsa is surrounded by compassion and patient tolerance. So this is the last thing that himsa must end with is. But when it is a duty, we don't have dvesha, it cannot be himsa also. It will be upholding the duty. So then comes with purity from within, serving with love the spiritual teacher, and with the mind firmly in control of the lower nature. So this one shloka itself has so many things. Krishna is saying first is having purity on the inside. There is this cultivating that inner purity. With love, serving the spiritual teacher. Again, we have seen this before also. Why people do Guru Pragna Pujanam? Why do they do that? Because through seva they get the knowledge. The guru has learned so much, and then he is receiving it, he's received it, and then he passes it on. That is why so many great even biggest industrialists of India, They go with a broomstick and they start cleaning in some ashrams or some mathas. They go there. Why? Not that they want to show they are humble. They are actually cleaning the dust and dirt inside of their head also while they are doing this. And in that process of seva, they learn. So this is also an important. This is a way of knowledge, is what Krishna is saying. So these are all ways of the Kshetragnya, having purity inside, having a feeling of non-violence, not wanting to engage in violence, having compassion for all, tolerance towards all, loving and serving the spiritual teacher, and mind in control of the lower nature. So we have the enemy inside only, which makes us do wrong things. So controlling that, that is one. Then Krishna goes on. Indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankare evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhihi dukha dukha doshanu darshanam. So janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukha doshanu darshanam. Having that samatha in treating all of these. First, let us see. With absolute detachment, devoid of ego's false perceptions, and beyond the pull of nature's sensual attractions. Krishna says, with complete detachment, no false perception of ego inside of the individual, beyond the pull of nature's sensual attraction. So nature has its tendency to attract and allure us. So we are able to control that. Sometimes people are go on diets and then they see only samosas, keep pulling them. I want to, but that time what they have to do, they have to control their nature, because now attraction of nature is deviating them. So that time that is important. It's something like that. False perception, because of ego we understand. I think Vasudevanji asked, said a very good thing, where we should understand what is right and what is wrong. Because ahankar is there, what is right will become wrong, what is wrong will be considered right, because ahankar changes our perception of everything. It's like a thermometer which is going to say temperature is more when the temperature is less, and vice versa. So it is of no use. That is what ahankar does to an individual. So for that, absolute detachment, vairagya is required in moments. Many times when difficult moments come, it is more important to get yourself out of the emotional tangle and become detached so you can analyze it. Knowing the truth of birth, death, old age, and illness without sorrow, understanding their underlying oneness. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are four truths of life which we must accept them, we must understand them without sorrow. I am born today, tomorrow I will die. That is the truth which I cannot run away from. I can say I want to live 100 years, I'll take care of myself to be so that I can in like it is Sirai Rangai Sushtuvan Swastinu. There's a mantra only. Give me strong bodies. Let me serve God for 100 years. Full lifespan. Let me live. But the death is also a part of life which I cannot run away from. So this is the birth and death and old age and illness. So again, old age also. This is jara. It's something which will happen. I can probably right now try to remove my white hair, or start when after a while when my hair starts becoming more fair, I'll have to start coloring them. But to the world, I may not be able to. I will not be showing that I'm now old. But I know that is a part of life, and there is something called gracefully aging also. I have seen 20-year-old who are like 90 years in their way of outlook of life, and I have seen 90-year-old people being like less than 18. It's like they want to their age is that way is not. It is just a number in a way, because the spirit inside never changes, and that is important. But recognizing grace, like what is the difference between? Can we say our childhood has died right now inside of us? When we were children once upon a time, but then can we say we are children now? Are we children now? We are not. So what has happened is we can retain that innocence of childhood, but it has also wonderfully blossomed with the maturity that comes from life experience. So if we can keep both of them and recognize that this is all a part of life, it's a cycle which we should be conscious of, and we should look at that without too much of sorrow. We must learn to accept it, is what Krishna is saying. That is also a way of knowledge. The wise must understand it, is what Krishna is saying. Then Krishna goes on, असक्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु. Bereft of anxieties and familial concerns. So again, familial concerns and anxieties normally come together only. When one is concerned about the family, that person gets anxieties. So both these should not be there, is what Krishna is saying. And probably Arjuna is there, so he is saying this. His children, wife, and home with detachment he discerns. If there was Draupadi, he would say, children, husband, and home, because these familial concerns are the source of all anxieties. And wise ones are able to understand and pull themselves out. Parents are not responsible for every action of their child. Each child has their own role, because sometimes that responsibility, see, I am like this, my child should be like this. No, every child is going to be different. Some of the best parenting also cannot ensure that the child goes in a particular direction, or sometimes parents are not very nice, also children can still become very nice also. It has nothing to do with that. So our anxieties only we should keep in our check. Krishna says that his children, wife, and home, but detachment he discerns. So this person is able to look at all of them. Yeah, this was the shloka that caused me trouble actually in one session. And when I talked about this and I gave an example, next day the one participant said, now she had asked me one question at the end of the session. What about my Sasuma is continuously telling you are too emotional, too disturbed all the time. You are having, these are all fake emotions. You cannot have these many emotions. And she was always telling her, and she was feeling sad. And she said, what should I do? I said, don't have this many emotions. Then you do not look at it as everything. Have a little detachment towards your emotions. Next day she said, because of you now Sasuma is saying if I die also you don't care. I said, what happened in one day? How this? She said, now whenever she's saying I'm doing nothing, I'm not responding. No, this is not something which we are cutting off all relations with our family, or we are cutting off our relations with everybody else. Only we are, again, like we say, pinch of salt. We're dealing with all this. Is there? Each person is having their own individual existence. I think this way. My husband may think this way, or my wife may think this different way. It is all right, because only attachments create the biggest problems. Here he's saying, free of all of these anxieties and familial concerns, and his mind is ever immersed in truth's tranquil. The mind is always in the truth consciousness only. Like we saw the example of a mother telling the son to go out of the house because he was in bad company. Now it's very difficult, but she was clinging to the truth. Heart was heavy, so many emotions inside. All these factors, also, she could take that difficult decision of giving a punishment to her beloved son. It was not out of anger, it was not out of uncontrolled emotion. It was actually a controlled one. She was going against her own heart's will. So, this because she is in the truth, irrespective of the happenings, for or against the will. Because how much can you control an atmosphere of someone? It is manipulation, is it not? If we try to, I want person to behave like this, I can ensure I get these results. What's going to happen? How long will you ensure? Parents sometimes have very strict parenting in the child. I want to give good values to my child. Damleji says, even in the children's Krishna's butter class, and to all our teachers, nothing can be taught. Children will learn. You introduce concepts, you don't think yourself as teachers. You become teachers, you will fall in trouble. Right now, we are introducing Krishna as a teacher. You just introduce the concept, the students will learn. And little children give very beautiful examples. We have seen that. It is sometimes very difficult. All the teachers, we come back to each other, and the questions that children ask are so difficult to answer. Sometimes we have to have discussion, and before answering the child, what is the answer to that question? So this, whether or not things are happening, because ultimately, can you ensure by wanting, by having an expectation, can you ensure somebody behaves in a particular way? I want this person to behave this way. Sometimes parents use force. They use force of money, they use force of threat, they use force of some kind of emotions. So no, for me, you do this. This is all I am asking. This is my only wish I want from you. You please do it. And they emotionally entangle a person. And they are successful, but how much success is that? Because it's only a temporary success. Later on, what is happening inside? There is a volcano inside of that individual, and that individual volcano, if it explodes, what's going to happen? You don't know. Yes, I think Dipti wants to share something.
Yeah, on this point, I would like to say that it really happens because even if you get something done by force, for that moment, um, if I mean the person who, let's say, if I'm asking my child to
Hmm.
do a certain thing a certain way, I don't get satisfied. I mean, I don't feel that complete satisfaction that even if he's doing it,
Yes.
because I know I'm forcing and I'm forcing him against his will, or he's doing it just because I have asked him.
Yeah.
So that doesn't give me I mean satisfaction as a
Okay.
parent or as a
Okay.
person also.
Okay. That is also nice to note. Yes.
So that my conscience doesn't accept
Acha.
that also. Okay, it's
That
been
is.
done because I have said, but deep down I am not comfortable
So that
with
is
social
wonderful.
media.
Actually, that is wonderful to be, even if we are able to see our own self and recognize this. But sometimes parents don't recognize it. So children are very obedient, nice, good boys, good girls. Continuously, parents are very happy, and suddenly they go to college, and after college they get a job, and then what? This boy is like this. They get the biggest shock of their life, but they don't realize action will have a reaction. Now the force was being used wrongly. Now there is going to be a different reaction. So instead, whether or not things, because everybody is going to behave the way they want to only. No matter, give logic, give tarka, you give the best explanation with love. Everybody is ultimately going to follow what they want to. So recognize that everything with a little bit detachment. Remain in the truth consciousness only. Whether or not things are happening according to your will or they are going against, do what is correct according to that truth consciousness inside of you, is what Krishna is saying. This is again a way of knowledge. We'll just look at two more shlokas, then we'll start the next part, because next part of is only about Purusha and Prakriti. That is an interesting adhyay, which is this part of the adhyay. First part is the more what we can say practical part. Krishna goes on, Mai chananya yogena bhaktiravya bhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam haratir jana sansadi. Practicing yoga with the greatest devotion, loving the Supreme with unswerving dedication, where the mind directed towards an inner clarity, away from the crowds and gatherings of outer vanity. So, here, with great devotion, practicing yoga, loving the Supreme with unswerving dedication. So, great dedication towards the divine. Mind which is directed towards an inner clarity. So, the mind is always trying to go towards that inner clarity, understanding the things, going to the truth, bottom of things. That state of understanding is there, away from the crowds and gatherings of outer vanity. So what is it? The crowd mentality is not taking that person away. Many times people go into parties and then they forget who they are completely. Or when they go into a group. So this is not, you're not supposed to scatter your consciousness wherever you go. Because you are, why not? You can enjoy yourself also. It's not something you should not enjoy in life. But are you getting carried away? Because sometimes in herd mentality only all the biggest problem happens. It's like one person gets, it's like a domino effect, from one person to the other it travels. And that is why as such a sadhak avoids going to such places where he is going to lose his consciousness. So all these crowds and gatherings, but that does not mean somebody whose job is to work in the crowd cannot do sadhana. That person can do it, but his mind should not. Damleji's beautiful words are there that man jata hai to jane de, mat jane de sharir. Meaning mind is going, so it is somewhere else. It's all right. Now it should not go. That is definitely what our aim is. But it is okay if your mind is going elsewhere. Don't let your body also go with that. That is a very important thing. So keeping the mind controlled also is something. Practicing yoga with devotion, loving the supreme. All these are different qualities.
Can I add on to this something?
Yes, ji, all right.
Just
Yes, ji.
5 seconds.
Yes.
I read somewhere someday that when we gossip, like of course
Huh.
there are gossips in the world, right?
Yeah.
So if we stop gossiping, we will not have anything to discuss after a particular point.
Is that true though, Deepti ji?
Yes, because see, I mean, I tried to implement that. So one day I went to a gathering. A gathering, there were like 4 5 people, and there was some chit chat going on,
Okay.
and I did not participate in that because I thought I don't want to.
Okay.
Because this is not going to serve. Like my silence is
Okay.
better than participating.
Okay.
At the end of when I came out of it, I felt good because I could see that my
You
mind was
felt
not
good.
cluttered. I
Okay.
felt good because my mind was not occupied with whatever was going on there because I kept my silence. I did not participate there. So I
Yeah.
was just listening, but I was just listening like an external factor and not internalizing it.
Yes, yes. Actually, what we can see, Nadipti ji, is we will know. It's not that we'll not have anything to talk about, because
No, after a
but
point, like
after a point, if you,
let's say,
depends on the crowd you are with. No, if they are all, if you see, rishis had discussions, and what would happen out of these discussions?
no,
Great
I'm
loka
saying, see,
sangram.
discussion is one thing. I'm saying gossip. Let's say,
Gossip
if
has no purpose in sadhana.
exactly, let's say,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So,
So
but
then
what
what
we can
happens when
aspire is
we
what
are
we can
losing our
aspire.
consciousness there?
Yes, yes. And what we can aspire is have friends who will allow us to not gossip but have constructive
Discussion.
movements
Yeah.
forwards, where then great things can happen. When two people, three people also come together, they can do brilliant change for society also. But that consciousness must be there.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
because the
yes,
discussions and gossip has that's why a certain thing is called as a gossip because it
yes.
doesn't have any
It
purpose
has
to
no
it.
purpose. There's nothing coming. And the
It's
mother of
meaningless.
The mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram had actually sent out a letter also when to the sadhaks that you are strictly you are all gossiping. If you are doing sadhana, you are not to engage in gossip of how this sadhak was. Even sadhaks were doing that. See, this person is like this person he is going like this. Or do you know this person raised to this consciousness? This person has already got Brahmananda. These are all gossips which are a tendency of the mind which has to be eliminated.
Like we say that
Yeah.
we talk about, like when two people are talking, let's talk about ourselves and
Yes.
not about the third person.
Yeah.
When we start
Yes.
talking about someone else, it becomes a gossip.
Yes, yes, and does not some many times it's counterproductive actually. It leads to
Yeah.
a something wrong only unnecessarily sometimes. So let us go on. The last one we'll stop here. So from 7 to 10, the way of the Kshetragnya was told. So you do not know the Kshetragnya, just study this shlokas. You will understand what is the way. Start cultivating these qualities. If you have one or two, brilliant. If you have many, that is also good. But just see what is missing and why not become like Kubera. All the best qualities can be cultivated in the same individual also. So these are the qualities that we must see. This is the way of the Kshetragnya. If you are able to practice this, you are closest to the supreme Kshetragnya also. Next, Krishna says, "Ad- Adhyatma, Adhyatma, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam Etad Jnanam iti Proktam Ajnanam Yatatonyatha." Seeking verily the true knowledge spiritual, understanding its principles, philosophical and factual, all these conform to true knowledge's space. So all these from 7 to 11 here we are seeing. Seeking the true knowledge, trying to get the inner meaning, understanding that clarity, understanding the principles which are philosophical, which are factual, all these conform to true knowledge's way. This is the way of knowledge. All against this is ignorance. One can assuredly say. So what is ajnana? That which is not jnana. What is ignorance? That which is not knowledge. So you understand this. Anything that goes against this is wrong, is what Krishna is saying. So simple, he has just why we need to worry of what is wrong and study what is wrong. Instead, know what is right and follow that. Anything that is going against the principle of what is right is wrong. So we don't need to try to study and just know that. So this is what Krishna is saying, the way of knowledge. So way of the Kshetragnya. Later on, we'll see how a person can become Kshetragnya also. The ways of becoming Kshetragnya. Then there is something. This we saw the Prakriti, and there's a role. There's a dance of Purusha and Prakriti taking place in the world. Shiva and Shakti. That cosmic dance is taking place and our world is spinning. So what is this role of Prakriti? What are the Vikara? How do we understand? How much of it is, how can we control? All that will be a little bit visible in the next part of this Adhyay. So we will continue with the next one which is coming on, I think Monday. We will continue on the Somvar. Yes, please. I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Any questions, any queries, you are most welcome. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् हरि ओम तत्सत् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ओम शांति शांति yes please any queries yes please Hari Om Hari Om Hari Om
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji Hari Om
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om Hari Om Hari Om
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji Hari Om
Saram,
Hari Om Hari Om ji Hari Om
Ji,
yes ji
in practical aspects, 12th chapter is more easier than the 13th.
ah
The 13th chapter is little bit
Dif-
difficult to
yes
understand as the 12th chapter. Ji.
Yes, Dr. Pushpaji. And now 13th chapter is going to have metaphysical concepts introduced. The next part is going to be that. But that is what Krishna does. It is something which he introduces, and if you see later on, it comes connects to us. It will connect later on also. Whatever, but you have said right. 12th is very simple.
Yeah.
Yes, ji, yes,
Uh,
ji.
Same way, DPG's ideas are very practical
Very
and it's
practical.
very
Yes,
true and
ji, ji.
my thoughts are more or less it's allied with DPG's.
Okay, ji. You can just mention to her she has left. She'll be happy, and it's really nice. Yes,
Oh,
the sharing of this. It's actually very good. That is where we all participate, and it helps all of us also. Yes, ji. All right, ji. Hariom.
Thank
Hariom. Hariom.
you.
Hariom ji. Hariom.